On today's episode, I will be flying the almighty Compass in the early stages of escalation. The TA-30 is the ultimate all-rounder. With enough patience, you could win the entire war by yourself with just this one boy. We don't need to carry anything fancy, 2 sets of linchpins per wing, and the rest is all Fox 2s. I'm going to try this less common start at Agripol for no particular reason. I want to start by eliminating all the anti-air vehicles that could pose a danger to me. I'll let friendlies deal with the rest. The enemy airbase will have several IR SAMs, some flak guns, and at least one SPA-AG, and one radar SAM. Each of these systems has its strengths and weaknesses, but when they are all bunched together, they can cover each other quite effectively. Blindly shooting at all of them at once at a great distance will have very poor effects. The linchpins are an excellent weapon for short-range hit-and-run attacks. Most vehicles are disabled in a single hit, and we have plenty. The first targets we spot are an Anvil flak gun and an AFV-8 IR SAM. The flak gun can engage any kind of target over medium ranges. Its weakness is its low fire rate and slow projectile speed. Its fire can be reasonably avoided. Even some missiles, like the AGM series, have some limited ability to dodge flak by weaving on their path. The IR SAM actually shoots IRM S1s and so is completely blind to bombs, but over medium distances it can very accurately target any missile or plane. I am using the terrain to stay below their sight, and as I reach engagement distance, I rise up, unload a salvo, then drop down quickly. My linchpins accelerate towards their targets faster than any AA system is able to react. The IR SAM launches a single Fox 2, which intercepts the ground. Now for arguably the most dangerous AA system. The Aerosentry fires 30mm auto cannon rounds at a ridiculous fire rate at up to 4,000 meters. It can engage all types of targets. Quite frankly, once it starts to fire, it is not possible to avoid or survive getting shot by this thing. At the moment, the Sentry cannot see me or the incoming missiles. If I was shooting it head-on, however, I would probably want to unload my entire supply of linchpins to have a chance of hitting it. Last but not least, the Bolt Strike. This radar SAM can fire Fox 1s at a distance of up to 15 kilometers. It can and will fire at even the smallest incoming missiles, like the linchpins, or the Tarantula's 76mm cannon rounds. At this distance, however, it's too slow to notice me. It does tank 3 of my missiles before it goes down. I dump the rest of my ammo. Some of my missiles overshoot the nearby IFV. The linchpins are very agile but can still miss their targets if not aimed at least somewhat properly. Something to keep in mind. But the rest hit an ammo truck, a good target to pick that blows up anything nearby. With the lack of nearby air targets, I choose to RTB, but I'm not flying all the way back to the airport. There's a small supply depot nearby, one of many on the map. Unmarked and mostly meant to serve helicopters, the Compass is nimble enough to land on roads and rearm from these. Stopping within 300 meters is sufficient. Just don't try to land on grass. I'm off the ground and making my way to Sanddrift, where most of the fun appears to be happening. This bomber is a tempting target, but he's too far and too fast. This Fox 2 I fire exemplifies my inability to control my impulses. However, he's turning around for another bombing run. I am not the only overly optimistic pilot, as someone fires Fox 2s at me from 20 kilometers away. I dive slightly, and the missile's intercept path guides them into the dirt. From 5 kilometers, the Dark Reach has just enough time to flare against my Fox 2. This final shot is close enough. The bomber splits in 2. No time to celebrate. Fox 2s are locking onto me from all directions. The convoy below me has a SAM. I am confident that I can flare off most of these as long as I throttle down somewhat. Others I evade with terrain. I pull a hasty 180 and dump all my flares and all my linchpins, most of them missing. Somewhat luckily, I take out nearly the entire convoy and don't get locked on by another Fox 2. I land to rearm. My touchdown is calculated and precise. I e-brake into the pit. My Formula 1 crew rearms, refuels, and fits new tyres in record time. Immediately upon takeoff, a Fox 3 is locked onto me. I stay low and focus on a chicane. I'm firing both linchpins and Fox 2s, while struggling to hold altitude, just barely avoiding the Fox 3. Now there's a Fox 2 aloft. sometimes it's just a bit too much. But the great thing about the compass, it costs about as much as a used Toyota Yaris, and they made about as many. My pilot receives a posthumous award and another hero takes his place. I am back in action in no time and the situation has changed rapidly. The chicane has encountered the air sentry and dies. Now 2 revokers are drifting above our airstrip like vultures. I remain calm and confident in my ability to flare a good amount of Fox 2s. One of the revokers has already flared off one of mine, but now an excellent opportunity presents itself. A marvellous 2-for-2 shot. Nearby, an Ifrit appears to be en route home. I would very much like to catch up to him, but even at his leisurely pace, he can outrun me. An alternative appears, another Ifrit, this one taking off with a full load. I deploy air brakes. I don't want the entire enemy airbase to notice me. I dip from view to evade his Fox 2 and pop back again to fire my last missile. At this very moment, I realize that I f***ed up. We exchange fire. At such close distance, neither of us can do anything about it. Even with me instantly jamming and turning to notch, his Fox 3 closes the gap in an instant. However, we traded, and my Fox 2 connected. He goes down. My pilot receives a posthumous award and another hero takes his place. I notice a lot of air traffic to the east. I suspect all of these planes are loaded up with ordnance and are set on a bombing mission because they don't seem to be interested in fighting me. I'm certain to use this opportunity for target practice. I help out my ground forces and wipe out a small convoy. Now for this chicane. I don't know what his deal is, but he doesn't seem to notice me. His back facing me, he is an easy target. He suffers catastrophic damage and cartwheels into the desert. For my last target of the day, I will take out a lone corvette. I find overwhelming firepower is the way to take them down. On approach, I stick to the ground to avoid the ship's ram missiles. If one happens to lock onto me, a bit of jamming can get me out of a tight spot. Using the rudder, I keep my heading unpredictable to avoid the flak fire. I release a full salvo and safely disengage. The corvette will be overwhelmed dealing with the missile barrage in its last moment and won't target me anymore. The linchpins reliably shred the shard, disabling all its weapon systems and leave it sinking rapidly. My battlefield success has brought me immense riches. I can use my funding liberally on the more expensive toys in our arsenal.